but it became a hard line. They would call it, you're either Team Danny or Team Wendi.
Yeah.
And they would actively refer to this. Danny
People that are associated with all.
And Danny himself and Wendi herself. They would say Team Danny and Team Wendi.
Okay.
It was kind of unnerving, actually. And I was like, I don't want to pick a team. I've become friends with her, too. I don't think that any one of them physically pulled the trigger. I think it is extremely odd that Janine all of a sudden is tagging on. I found it extremely odd that Wendy's boyfriend that she was so excited about a few weeks ago was not there. When I was leaving, I said, well, where's your new guy? Shouldn't he be here to comfort you? And she's like, there's no new guy. And I was like, that's interesting timing. There's just a lot of interesting timings that don't feel right here. And and Wendy's gone through a lot. She's gone through a lot with this. So it could just be that she's grieving, and I hope that that's the case. But I wouldn't put it past her father or even her brother to do something that she might not even be aware of.
You talking about this Charlie?
Charlie, maybe. Charlie really cares about her and hated Danny for stuff. But her dad, I mean, there was a lot of animosity. I don't know whether she told them that he had been abusive or what. I don't know. But I hope that's not the case. I just, everything I've heard does not feel random at all to me. And it feels incredibly intentional based on talking to Amy. She talked to him the night before, and he usually sleeps in bed with the kids. And there were nights when I would go over and we'd sing lullabies to the kids to put them to sleep. And he dropped them off at Creative, and Amy figured he was coming or going from the gym because that was the routine. But it sounds like someone knew the routine.
Going from the Creative Preschool to the gym to home?
I don't know which order that was. I don't know.
He had the kids the night before?
He had the kids the night before, according to Amy.
Okay.
And the last time they texted was something like 12:30. One of them said that they were going to be, tired, going to sleep. I think she said she was tired and she was going to sleep. And they didn't, they didn't talk that morning.
Okay.
And then she couldn't get a hold of him for the rest of the day, obviously. He was finally feeling happy again. He was feeling hopeful. Things with his kids were great. Wendi was this huge elephant in his life for him. I mean, it was consuming. Not that he was obsessed about it, it just he wanted it to end. And it just seemed like it was never going to end. The latest claim was that she had concealed $500,000 in assets, on top of having the family heirloom and other things that he felt were unreasonable. And he had claimed to my aunt Alex, apparently, that there was something that big that he was going to drop a bomb on her in the next week. A legal bomb that would discredit her statements, particularly with regard to financial matters. Again, the timing of all of it doesn't sit well with me. I have been trying to gauge Wendy's family's reactions to things because I've been around them, and even when she first left him, I mean, I went over to her house. Her parents were staying there. I had a drink with her mom. Like I've seen them and how they react to things, and something feels off. And it could just be, I hope it is, because I don't want Ben and Lincoln to grow up with, really orphaned. And if it does have to do with that family, I hope Wendi had nothing to do with it and is triply devastated that something was related. But I don't know. I don't know about the consulting. Maybe there was some risk, but my understanding was that he was not lead, which shouldn't have made him a target like that. It was fairly recent, and it seems like it would take some time for someone to establish his patterns. It just seems known. The outpouring of messages I've gotten from his students, from my classmates, from my friends, is all past and present. He was a great criminal law professor. Students liked him. I don't think it was some strung out student who didn't like their grade. That doesn't feel right to me either. If it was some weird tangential thing related to consulting, I suppose that's a remote possibility, but that still doesn't feel quite right. It just feels very personal. It feels very personal. And I want to give benefit of the doubt, but on some gut level, I have this anger that's there. And he didn't deserve this. But, no, there was never it wasn't just that she was treating him poorly like in a typical situation. There's strangeness about it. Either because she was changing stories or she was being incredibly evasive. And it really bothered him. But I tried to not let it bother my friendship with her and tried to keep them separated, which is not many of the friends did that. People were like Team Danny or Team Wendi. I tried to straddle both. I was probably the only person who was able to straddle both. And it would break my heart. Which is actually already broken, so I guess I can't fall too much further. He was going to give a presentation at Rutgers. He was supposed to fly in last night to New York, so they're having a memorial for him there. And I'm so full of memories, I'm just in utter disbelief. I'm almost positive at some point we discussed him having a will. I don't know when in this time frame it was at all. But I feel like he has one. No idea where. He was willing to pacify Wendi for a long time. He wanted to get back together with her. He offered, I'll change, we'll get back together, the important things of the family. She wouldn't have it. And so every time, it was the type of thing where if he was going to have an extended period of time away, he would give her right of first refusal. She never returned the favor. If it was only for a little night, and she's like, okay, well, and she would generally not accept, but she absolutely would never return the favor, even if it meant people coming from South Florida to come and watch the kids. That really bothered him. But the dance that they did was very painful to everyone around them because it was just nasty. And even on days when she had them, he would go to the preschool so he could see them and spend time with them. He referred to himself as Abba in Jewish tradition, and he really wanted them to be raised Orthodox. And this was a huge bone of contention between the two of them. They agreed on it when they got married. And then over time, she made it fairly clear that she was not into that. So for the first year after the kids were born, first year or two, they did the ritual, they sang songs, they were teaching them the songs, everything seemed good. And then she just didn't want to go to temple with him and sort of declined. And then they were actively fighting post-divorce as to what the upbringing would be. And she didn't want them growing up in some kind of Orthodox way. Absolutely not. And she knew that was his heart. So there was never going to be peace about that. everyone knows, and I've heard people in town write me when I haven't even commented to them saying, I just heard this is domestic. Have you heard anything? And I'm like, I'm not discussing this. But it's, Wendi has all clear. She can move wherever she wants, all that kind of stuff. I don't think she would hurt her children that way. I want to believe that. I could see her getting overwhelmed enough with the situation to complain to someone who would want to make it go away. And I also feel it's weird that her social worker boyfriend, poof, so suddenly after just bragging about him so recently.
When was that? When was the latest time that she was talking about him?
Okay, let me figure out when I guest lectured. I had dinner with Danny on the 4th. I guest lectured on June 17th.
That's the one that you wanted to refer to later, that you were asking me to remind you about?
Yes, so she was bragging about him. She really liked him, and she sent me messages. My messages are going so far back at this point. Let me pull it up.
When you're guest lecturing, she's not there.
We talked before.
Okay.
There's Danny's message. As far as let's figure on the 17th, there it is.
Well, this is you. What time is the class in the morning? And then after that you said 10 to 12:30 or earlier. The blue is you.
Yes, the blue is me.
Okay. And then June 17th at 8:50 a.m., 10 please. I have to run today after class, but can we set up a date so I can thank you and take you to lunch, please? You said, sounds good. This is all referring to the class that day. Sometime after the class at 1:47. She says, you are brilliant and beautiful and amazing. Many thanks for teaching class today. And then you said, let's do a double date. I'm sorry, she said, let's do a double date.
Let's do a double date.
Yeah.
Okay, so she said, let's do a double date. I didn't respond to that because that felt weird to me.
Right. But she's referring to the
social
social worker?
The social worker boyfriend.
Do you know his name?
They were Facebook friends. I don't know if they still are. She had his picture up. They've been dating since September, she told me. Dan knew about him. He mentioned him to me when we went to dinner the week before, or a couple weeks before. And his take was kind of like, well, if she's happy, why isn't she just, getting on with her life? He apparently went poof shortly thereafter. That's less than a month. I guess my question to that would be, he's a social worker. If he wasn't inclined to do something on her behalf, did he just find her to be getting too out of control to be with her? I don't know. Unless it was her decision. But
Did she say he was a
professor of social work.
Professor, okay, so
he's licensed.
FSU or?
Yes, FSU, College of Social Work professor. He looked a little bit like Danny, I suppose, looked when he was younger.
Okay. You met him?
I did not meet him.
You saw his picture?
I saw his picture. Mm-hmm. And
Is this the only guy in her life?
So, good question. When Danny and I were at Thai food that night for my birthday, Ken Lawson, who's the secretary of DBPR, he happened to be there and he said hello, and Dan said hello, and I'm fairly certain that Ken and Wendi dated right around the divorce or around the time she left or something around there. But that was just in passing. She's been very close to the vest, and I didn't know she was dating anyone. I mean, I heard from Danny, but then I didn't know from her that was the case. And I don't think he knew from her. I think he knew from other people telling him. So that was kind of odd. And even if they had just broken up and things were good, like, I would still be over helping to comfort her yesterday, you know? That's a big deal, especially with a social work background. I'm like, Janine, according to her husband, I guess, he wasn't there, but Janine was with Wendi when she found that one. Janine's like, I went to the police station with her, but it felt very, I was like, is she an attorney? Is she representing her? It felt very guarded, very, very guarded. Like, you like her personal bodyguard now, and almost like guarded with the children around me. And I'm like, that's really weird. You know, Wendy's mom seemed fine. Anyone else, I can't say.
You don't suspect anything suspicious about her mom.
Not so much, no.
But her dad, you're feeling some vibes because of him not wanting to look you in the eye yesterday.
And then today not wanting to look me at all. No.
Did he acknowledge you at all today?
No, he didn't. Not at all. And he and his son had a dental practice. He was well respected in the community down in South Florida. Which has a lot of resources, and I'm sure that if anything were to take place, they would be extremely smart about it. But I got a vibe from him, like, I know you suspect me, and I'm done.
Okay.
I don't know.
You said that woman that was over there was Janine?
Janine? Mm-hmm.
You know her last name or anything?
Nope. Supposedly she was with Wendi when Wendi was being interrogated. Or at the police station with Wendi at the time she was being questioned.
Okay.
And then Janine's husband. But she was protective in a way that felt a little overprotective.
That was the first time you met her?
Yes.
Okay.
And...
Never heard of her before?
Mm-mm.
What do you know about her two brothers? I know there's two brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard about this Charlie, and he's a periodontist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He had worked with her dad, and that's in South Florida. And then her older brother, whose name is escaping me right now, I believe was in New York, doctor married to an Indian descent woman named Harutha. And protective of her, but very kind of separated and involved with his own life and his family. Charlie was the one who was closer.
Charlie's older than her as well?
Charlie's the younger one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait, no. I guess Wendi is the youngest. It's just that Charlie's younger than I am, too,
okay.
So. But I was down there in their house. I was trying to help her learn how to breastfeed with Danny there and the brothers. And when they split up, I went down and met with Wendi and went out with Wendi and Charlie and his friends. It's mind-blowing, but the legal situation was getting to another point where it was blowing up.
He somehow found out that she withheld financial disclosure?
Yes.
And was going to use that?
Yes.
For what purpose?
It was to discredit her and have things adjusted, I believe, including getting back his heirloom.
Okay, he told you this?
Yes.
Okay, and he told you the figure of...
$500,000 is what he
Danny
said.
told you that directly?
Yes.
So in other words, when they were going through their divorce proceedings and they each had to file disclosure statements,
Correct.
She shorted it by $500,000.
He said she fraudulently did it, yes.
And he didn't bring it up then? Or he didn't know about it then?
He didn't know about it then.
But he's discovered it since?
Yes.
And so...
And he talked about it even before we went to dinner on my birthday.
Did he talk about it to anybody else that you know of?
I'm sure he talked about it to Alex and Maya. Now, he also talks about stuff, I'm sure, to his parents, because when I met Ruth, like Ruth was trying to talk to Donna Adelson, Wendy's mom, and saying like, oh, I'd really like to see the boys. And like Donna just kept walking away.
Who was saying that?
Ruth
Right.
said to Wendy's mom, Donna, today at the service, I'd really like to see the boys. And Donna kept walking away with the boys. And Ruth turned to me and she said, I hope what I just saw didn't actually happen. Like, she just got ignored.
Oh.
And she said that, she's like, well, I guess that's not going to happen, but you know the story. So, obviously, I infer that Dan had been talking to her and the family about these problems.
I mean, Danny's a jealous guy, Jeff is a jealous guy.
All right.
That, that, as a social worker, that, I would
Okay.
be.
Well, let me ask you this. If Jeff is the new guy, why would he feel
Just-
it?
Just because he's, because this is something I wouldn't say in front of Wendy.
Okay.
I thought you said it's something I wouldn't say. I'm like, I'm right here.
That, doing the kind of work I do, I would think, there's this person, and then he loves Wendy. Danny makes Wendy's life very difficult. Wendy is currently making his life very difficult. I don't know him to be a lunatic, but he's a jealous guy.
Okay. All right.
That's what I would
Very
say. He's my colleague, so he's somebody I think of as a decent guy.
That would be who now?
Jeff Lacasse is my
Okay.
colleague.
Okay. All right.
Are you leaving?
Yes, I'm being kicked out.
Oh, really?
Really. But I can come get you if you need me.
Okay.
Okay? So if you can't drive, it's no problem.
What's your number, Jane, so I can give you a call?
321-4657. I'm happy to come get you. I'm happy to come get you. You need to talk to these guys.
Can you make sure someone goes to see Danny? I guess they're going to do that.
You're going to
That's
do
not
that,
your
right?
job.
You're going to make sure that there's
I know Sergeant Baldwin, when I was out there, I've been talking to her when you
It's
were
really
there, they were
critical
working on that.
that he be blessed today.
Oh,
It's absolutely
okay.
critical
Gotcha.
that he see
Okay.
that a rabbi go there. Absolutely critical.
All right.
All
Okay,
right, honey.
bye. Thank you for coming.
Okay. I am available to you. I'm going now, but
Yeah.
this is a process, and you're going to move through it. Thank
Okay.
you. I'm glad. Thanks very much. And these guys were very generous to let me come in here at all. So thanks very much for
You're
that.
welcome. I'll be back.
Bye-bye.
Really making her vote.
I think I'll just ask you some more questions.